What's up, guys? Welcome into CrossFire as we get you ready for the 2022 NFL Draft as it relates to the LA Chargers. So we're going to be joined all month by the Athletics, Dane Brugler, fresh off the beast, and he's going to debate with some of the best draft analysts in the business. And today it's Pro Football Focus's Mike Renner. The subject, fellas, is wide receivers. 4 topics, and we'll start with this one. Take your pick, Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson. Dane, kick us off.
What an embarrassment of riches it was in that Ohio State wide receiver room, especially when you consider Jameson Williams was there for a few years. Jackson Smith and Jigba is a guy we'll be talking about next year. Just a fun group. But Garrett Wilson, one of my favorite players in the entire draft. So much fun to watch. Not the biggest guy, just under 6 foot, 183 pounds, but he plays much bigger than that. And he can win through contact. Outstanding ball skills, and I try not to overuse the word elite when talking about these prospects, but Wilson has elite body control, and that's why my comparison for him, CD Lamb. The body types are a little different. Wilson, I think, is a slightly better athlete, but the body control, their length to go make athletic plays on the football, very, very similar. And really the main reason why I slightly prefer Wilson over Olave, and Olave, the more refined player, no doubt about it. That's something that I'm sure Mike will talk about. But with Wilson, I think you have a little bit more after the catch dynamic. Wilson, he's going to force missed tackles. He's instinctive with the ball in his hands. And I think that comes from his experience playing basketball. He had a Division I basketball scholarships out of high school. So 2 really good players here, but I will lean Wilson.
All right, Mike, you got Chris Olave. Make the case.
Yeah, I'm with Dane there, though, on the Ohio State receiving core. I never thought we'd see another receiving core touch what Alabama did in recent years in terms of draft capital expended, but Ohio State might, and especially if you factor in Jameson Williams into that discussion here, too, and where he'll go. I lean Olave, though, because we're on a Chargers podcast, and we're talking about the Chargers draft board in particular, because we make the draft boards kind of in this vacuum of this theoretical talent, but these teams are making it in terms of what's going to impact their football team. So for the Chargers football team, I want a guy that's ready now because you have a roster that's ready to win right now with Justin Herbert on his rookie deal. And I want a guy that can attack the deep parts of the football field because you have 2 slower-ish wide receivers in Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. That's not to say Garrett Wilson isn't fast, but he has been the productive underneath intermediate guy over the course of his career, whereas Olave has been that deep threat wide receiver in that Ohio State offense. So he fills that need that the Chargers don't have on their roster, whereas Garrett Wilson, a lot of the higher end aspects to his game, a lot of what he brings to the table is redundant to what Keenan Allen brings to the table. And so you can't have 2 guys filling the same role. Chris Olave can fill a different role and be productive from it from day one.
Plus, Chris Olave, a Southern California kid. So could be interesting at number 17 overall. All right, guys, next topic, your favorite wide receiver in this draft class. Mike, you started.
I think it's Drake London, the USC wide receiver, just because I know what I'm getting. I mean, you see the basketball background. He literally played on the USC basketball team as a freshman there. The ball skills, the contested catch ability, his ability to get off the line of scrimmage, which is rare for a big wide receiver to be able to do that. And he's done it all so young. I think the thing that's gotten lost is this guy's 20 years old. He hasn't even turned 21 yet. So the sort of ascension he's made over the past year from the pandemic shortened year, from not having focused on football, from having played on the basketball team, what could he end up being if he's just focused on football for his 22-year-old season? I think we haven't even seen the best of him. And what we saw last year was the best wide receiver in college football, or at least the most productive wide receiver in college football. So to me, I know what I'm getting, and that's going to be a productive possession type of wide receiver at the next level.
There it is. Dane, what about you, bud?
So I think my favorite receiver is probably Garrett Wilson, but we just talked about him, so I'll do my second favorite, and that's Jameson Williams out of Alabama, who we mentioned as part of that Ohio State depth chart at one point, goes to Alabama for 1 season and quickly made an impact. Truly special speed. And we're not talking about a track guy who's just trying to play football. This is a guy that has a great feel for spacing within his routes. He's able to shift his gears so he can force a defender to settle his feet before taking off on a double move or breaking off a 90-degree cut on a dig. He's not the most natural hands catcher per se, but he tracks the ball well. He makes easy adjustments on the football. The torn ACL in January creates a little bit of hesitation, no doubt, but hopefully he comes back healthy, because whenever Williams is on the field, an explosive play is possible on any given snap. So that's why he was one of my favorites this year. That explosive element, that speed, that defenses, they're threatened by that on every single play.
All right, next topic, guys. This is one of my favorites. So the Chargers got Joshua Palmer in the third round, and he really popped at the end of the year. Best mid to late round prospects. Dane, kick it off.
So if this draft class has a Darnell Mooney in it, a day 3 speedster who can push for early playing time like Mooney has done in Chicago, I think it might be Danny Gray from SMU. 6 foot, 186 pounds, legit 4.3 speed. And what I loved about his tape was the targets. They were evenly distributed to every single level of the field. So he's not just a deep threat or an underneath guy. He tracks the ball well at all 3 levels. I think the one area you do worry about is just the finishing. He'll have his drops, but that's why we're talking about him as a day 3 prospect and not higher. But I'll bet on that speed, that playmaking potential. I think the other stuff will improve with some NFL coaching. So Gray's an exciting player who is just, I think, scratching the surface of his ability.
I was going to say, I really like Danny Gray as well. I do think that he is only kind of a ticking time bomb in terms of when he's going to break out at the NFL level. But the guy I like that's probably going to go 3rd, 4th, 5th round range is Kyle Phillips from UCLA. Criminally underutilized in that offense. Not a pass-heavy offense by any means, but he can get open at will at the underneath at part of the football field. He can get off the line of scrimmage and he can shake underneath defenders. And we're seeing these option routes from the slot proliferating around the NFL. It's a copycat league, and what you see Cooper Kupp doing in LA, what you see Hunter Renfrow doing in Las Vegas, this guy can do that. This guy can be that guy in your offense. He went to the Shrine Bowl and was uncoverable. I didn't see anyone stick with him in that whole week of practices. So that's what he can bring to the table in your offense. You may not be a complete type of wide receiver, but in a role, he can be able to excel.
All right, guys, final topic. So wide receiver has been a heavy topic among Chargers fans over the last couple of months. Most likely receiver to potentially fall to them at number 17 overall. Mike.
I think it's Chris Olave. I just look at the draft board and look at the needs of other teams and where they'll probably end up leaning. If you think early guys, what teams need? When someone like the Falcons, I think they would lean like a Jameson Williams or Drake London. The Jets need a guy. They're probably leaning for like a possession type of Drake London. The teams before him that need wide receivers, I don't think would go that route of what Chris Olave brings to the table. And like I said, he's the perfect fit for what the Chargers need. So I think that's the guy most likely of probably the top 4 or 5 wide receivers that I'd say is still going to be on the board at pick 17.
Yeah, I think if the ACL wasn't a factor, Jameson Williams, we'd be talking about him as maybe the odds-on favorite to be that first receiver drafted. But when you factor in that injury, I think that makes things, when you have a group of receivers that are pretty close, and these receivers are all different, but when you have a lot of these teams have similar grades on a Drake London, a Garrett Wilson, a Chris Olave, a Jameson Williams, a Traylon Burks. And so if a player has an ACL injury, maybe that'll push him down just a little bit and maybe right in the laps of the Chargers at number 17. And so you look at Williams, I mean, I professed my love for him earlier. I'm happy to do it again here. Of Alabama's 11 longest plays last year on offense, Jameson Williams was responsible for 10 of them. I mean, I think this would be a great fit for both sides. For Williams, he's going to an offense where, he won't be necessarily hurried back from his rehab because he's going to a really talented offensive roster. And then for the Chargers, the idea of adding that type of speed at Justin Herbert's disposal, what defense has enough defensive backs to cover all this receiver talent? So if a receiver with Williams' talent is there at 17, I don't think you pass, plain and simple.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this first installment of Crossfire, your primer for the 2022 NFL Draft.
If you want to see more content like this, check out the link right here.